All right, and we're live on Thursday, a special Thursday edition with our friend Jacqueline Edwards, otherwise known as the traveling accountant, designed her business to travel and never goes to the same place twice, which I find that so awesome. Also, she has a solo business right now, but maybe or maybe not going into employees, a three-time top 100 Pro Advisor Award winner, and an expert in the transformation conversation. So, welcome, Jacqueline, and take it away, Deb.
Well, we're thrilled you're here. Now, I'll tell you, I met Jacqueline at Scaling New Heights last year. We were at the table playing left, right, center.
That's right. I love that
Never
game.
played it before. So she's standing next to me telling me about, okay, I get your dollar. No, you take my dollar from me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hitting my head. So then she's talking to me about, oh, I forget where you went. I just got back from East Jabip. And I'm like, East, how do you go there? So she's telling me that she travels all over the world. So I want to hear all about that. You designed your accounting practice so you can travel 30 days every other month, 30 days in, 30 days out.
Yeah, I when I met you, I had just come back from Serbia, North Macedonia, Kosovo, and Serbia. Yeah.
And how long was that trip?
30 days. That's the number. Sometimes it might push to 45, but on average, it's usually 30.
So you go 30 days. Now, you've designed your accounting. I'm sure it's all remote. You use QuickBooks Online.
That's correct. QuickBooks Online, 100%.
And we talked earlier about how I said, well, who are your clients? Tell them what's important to you when you meet a client for the first time, your conversation that you talk about.
Well, first of all, everything has to be about the client, why they called, what they called for. Those things need to be addressed. And, I have like 2 or 3 conversations depending on if it involves cleanup work or just immediate work. There's no account that you can just pick up and run with.
Right.
There's always some sort of
Yeah.
analysis and cleanup work that needs to be done. So as I go through that, I usually get to know them on a personal level and find out what their big overall goals are because they come to you for immediate, right? Typically, and sometimes long term. So, as I get to personalize everything as I do their audit and assessment, the discovery call, and the onboarding process, in my engagement letter, it does let them know that, I will sometimes travel from time to time and won't be available, or they'll have limited access to me. But I'll make sure that everything is tight and right before I go. And I do sometimes when I go on vacation. Right before I go, everyone's calling. I'm like, why'd you book this hour? I don't know. Do I need anything? Because especially when they're new, they're like, do I need anything? Because you're going away, and I don't want to bother you. So, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, let's talk about you because your business is good. So I'll go through it and then switch it to personal.
So you have the whole thing is a personal relationship with these people.
A huge
That's
personal
the whole,
relationship. Huge.
I think that's so. I wish more of us would think like that because I think that makes a difference in long term success, continuity of keeping with us.
And
Because
even increasing your pricing and all of that, it's a huge difference.
right,
I have a contractor who is about to he has 3 twins, and they're about to go to college, next year. So the conversation has switched to, when I onboarded him 5 years ago, I was just like, what does the kids' college fund look like? And he was like, that's funny. I said, no, I'm serious. And he's like, he's like, me too. They don't have one. I said, okay, well, do you want to have one? What's your wife's your partner's long term and short term goals with the family? And he's just like, oh, you want to have that conversation? I said, let's focus on you and have it the next time. Long story short, the wife came on the call, the kids came on the call, and I asked everybody what they wanted. And the kids were like, I don't want to go to college. Only one of them wanted to go to college. And that was really a surprise to them. They're like, "What do you mean you guys don't want to go to college?" And they're like, "Well, since we're having the conversation, and one of them even said, this is a safe space, right?" I was like, "Yes, this is a safe place. You can come over to my house."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, he's just like, I want a gap year." And two of them wanted a gap year, and one of them just wanted to go straight in. He didn't want a gap year. And, it turned into, do we work to live to have something for our kids, or do we live to work for our well-being at large here and now? And it was the here and now, and they were able to get something together so that the kids could understand what they needed to do. It was short-term planning because they didn't really think about it until I had initiated the
Right.
conversation. But they were able to come away with a good solid plan, even for how much they were going to contribute to the kids' gap years and everything.
That's great. I mean, I just think that makes the difference between a great accountant and just one that just puts the entry on the forms. It's the real
Yeah, and he was really happy to have that conversation. And now, since it's 2025 and college and gap year is next year, he's like, we're ahead on this plan. The kids are working, they're putting in. Everyone's has their session about their financial savings and investment accounts that they have. And they have them one on one, and I charge for each one of those. It's not like a family plan, it's everybody
right.
pays Jacqueline to talk.
Right. So, do you have any advice for people that want to start thinking like that? What would you tell some of our colleagues that never even considered something like this?
It's about a financial wellness on a full scope of business and personal. You can't just take care of the business, because I find when I don't know about you, but when you're looking through the numbers, you'll see, $1,000, depending on who the customer is. They'll take out $1,000 out of the ATM machine, or by the time they finish, it will equate to five to $10,000. And I'm like, what are these ATM withdrawals? Oh, well, I needed that for me. I said, why? For you, for what? Give me an answer.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you just took out $250. Like, I had someone who went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and he took out 250 4 times a day. And I was just like, I said, what's all these 250 charges? And he was there for 3 weeks. And he's like, well, I needed money. And I said, well, you should have planned for it. You should have brought the money that you needed, went to the exchange. I'm all for taking money out of the ATM machine because, the exchange rate is better. But also in that particular country, that was the maximum he could take out each time he went to the ATM machine. But he should have done better planning on a credit card. And I'm
Right.
like, this is when
Mhm.
it would have been
Yep.
better for you to become a credit card whore instead of cash, 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 cash,
Right.
unless you were in the bush. And I'm like, according to your hotel bill, you were not in the bush. You were at the Marriott. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you know?
The business fee supports their life. So, what do they want their life to look like? Not just
Right.
the business.
It's not just the business, it's their life, because people are not planning. A lot of people are up in age. They're either Gen X or baby boomers. And it's just like, what does your retirement look like? And when you ask that question, they'll either laugh or they'll be like,
They're
oh, I'm
embarrassed
good.
a lot of
Yeah,
times.
or they're good,
Mhm.
or they're embarrassed to even address it. And I'm just like, well, let's see how you're going to be able to scale down and enjoy your later years in life.
Right.
You might not be able to retire, but let's see what that scalability looks like, you working part time. And what does part time mean? Is it 30 hours a week, 20 hours a week, 15? What does that look like?
Right.
Especially if you don't have a spouse supporting you.
Right.
So you have to
Yep.
have those conversations.
I
It's
think they make all
important.
the difference to maintain clients, keep clients, work with clients so you can go on vacation with clients. I think it makes the difference. And a lot of times we bring that up and they don't want to talk
Mhm.
about it because I should have done this years ago, but you didn't. So it doesn't pass is gone.
Right.
Let's start today.
I
You know,
don't believe in living a shoulda, woulda, coulda life.
no, I don't
Eh,
should have
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, and if you want to live a shoulda, woulda, coulda life, I'm the wrong person for you.
Right.
And I tell them that if they don't want to have the conversation, like I had someone last week, he was an HVAC person and he called for his HVAC business and he needed to file 2023 and 24 tax return. And when I asked him for his email, because he called me, he didn't email me, he just called. I gave him my time and attention. He gave me a Gmail address. And I said, "Why are you investing in Gmail?" He's like, "What?" I said, "Why are you investing in Gmail?" I'm like, "You've been in business for 10 years, you said." He's like, "Yeah." I said, "So where's your branded email?" And he's like, that has nothing to do with what I want from you right now. I said, "It does, because not only are you 2 years behind in filing your tax return," I said, "it tells me a lot about your story, and I didn't even dive into the numbers yet."
Right. What did he say?
Yeah, he told me thank you for my time, and he looked forward to my email, and he gave me his branded email address, and I didn't hear from him. So I liked what he had to say in our conversation. I thought he'd be interesting to work with, and I don't do this very often, but I decided to follow up with him. And since he called me, I called him. He picked up, and I asked him, I didn't hear from him, so what's going on? And he's like, "Honestly, Jacqueline?" I said, "Yeah, honestly." I said, "I'm a New Yorker. Tell me straight." And he was a New Yorker as well. He's just like, "I didn't like that you talked to me about my branding."
Uh huh.
He's like, I didn't come to you for that." I said, "Well, as I told you in our first conversation, I'm a business manager who happens to be freakishly good at financial management. And I
Right.
happen to use QuickBooks Online as my primary tool to deliver the financial record keeping services part of the business. But I'm first and foremost a business manager, not a bookkeeper or accountant." So I said, "If you don't want me to talk about your branding," I said, "then you made the right decision, and I completely respect that."
What did he say
And
to that? I mean, I wish you could. Everybody needs to memorize your word.
I
and
know. This is good. This
Well,
is
he
really
he
good.
basically he basically wanted to go into apology mode because he felt embarrassed. And I called him by name and I said, I said, "I'm going to stop you from the apology sentence, because," I said, "I do respect your decision. You did what was best for you at this moment in time, for what you understand and what you believe your needs are." And I said, "And I completely respect it, and know that I'll be here if you wake up to a higher level."
Right.
I
Oh,
said,
he's
"Because
so
the
good.
person who
And
took you on
you just
on
did the
last
podcast
week,
right here, Donna, because this was mic drop.
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
because the
Absolutely.
person who took him on last week, honestly, um, didn't do a full evaluation. They just did a money grab, respectfully.
Right.
And I've had many people who have not moved forward with me, and 2 3 months later they're calling me and like, "Do you remember who I am?" And it's just like, "Yeah, I do." And the reason why they're calling me is because their first choice was a money grab,
And
not
what you mean by money grab? They just
yeah, they just, it's like, because they want to have that conversation. "How much do you charge?" Well, I
mhm.
can't tell you that because I don't know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
What's the financial state of your affairs? I
Right.
need to know. Am I dealing? I had one guy who, when I actually looked at his books, he begrudgingly told me that he had 10 accounts. When I went and looked at his financial, he had 14 accounts. 14.
Only
And,
14.
and I was just like, "Why do you have 14 financial institutions?" I said, "What's happening here? Are we laundering money or cooking the books? What's happening?" And he's just like, "Well," he's like, "This one did that one to me, and this one did this, and so I
Oh.
went to this one." And I said, so what I'm hearing is that you're an angel, you're not at fault. And all your money problems are all of these financial institutions that, oh, by the way, three of them you owe money to, which is why you're knocking at my door. I said, are these negative numbers real? He's like, yeah, here are the letters. And he pulls them up on the screen. And I'm just like, okay. And, and I said, can you tell me? I said, what's your budget for this? And he told me it was 5 Gs. And I was like, this cost is going to cost you way more than 5 Gs. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I said, I'm going to do an audit and assessment for you. This is how much it's going to cost. So you can sit down and chew on the cud. And when you go price shopping, you can at least get something done on this list if you don't want to hire me.
What did you charge for your assessment?
Um, I charge, I used to charge $800 and something for it. And it's usually just 2 hours.
And you get access. How do you do your assessment?
I have to see the patient, I tell them, which is the QBO file. They have to have all of their financial records in digital form. I have to have accountant access.
Right.
And I spend the first hour usually by myself just looking at stuff. And then the second hour, sometimes the last 2 hours, I do a show and tell, showing them their numbers and asking them about things, and they give me the I don't know syndrome. They go into I don't know mode. I never seen that before.
Right.
It's like they get CRS all of a sudden, and it's like, okay, well, these
Tell
numbers.
everybody what CRS means for those that don't know.
I'm gonna
Recall.
Can't remember.
Stuff.
Stuff to be kind, but I use the 4-letter word because
Yes.
I'm a real New Yorker, so I use the 4-letter version. But let's just say can't remember stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to be Jimmy Kimmel. So
We're good. We're good.
so and you just have to have them face their true reality of what's going on, but I'm not telling them in a judgmental tone.
No.
So for the first time they're able to have a real conversation with someone, and a lot of the times they're not on screen like we're on screen right now. I'm like, if you don't want to turn on your camera, don't. I said, and I'd rather you not, so you can be honest with me. Because when they're looking at you, that guilt and embarrassment, the shame, it comes across the screen,
Right.
and they want to clam up, right? Because they want to hold face.
Good point. I never thought of it like that. That's
but
great.
Yeah, but if there's no camera, then they're more apt to spill their guts and tell you stories for days, and you're just like, okay, let's move on from this one and go on to the next story and the next number. And they're more open with you because, there's a little bit of a barrier there to shield them from their shame or their embarrassment or whatever negative emotional response they're having.
Right. In fact, I heard a phrase the other day. Let me see if I can recall it. It was like, people buy because let me see if I can find it. I posted on LinkedIn. It was so good.
Okay.
Features tell. That's when we're talking about, I can reconcile your bank accounts. You have 10 bank accounts. Features tell.
Right.
Outcomes sell.
Mm-hmm.
Feelings close.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get the feelings involved. So this girl gets me. Yes. I'm going to want to do business with her. So then what's really interesting, I found, when you start learning how to do that, they don't ask how much it costs.
They don't. They don't care because they want the help. And they've been looking for it for so long, they don't care how much it costs.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I do tell them my pricing, they're like, oh, wow, that's a little bit more than I expected. But I usually get the words, but I believe and I know you're going to be able to help me. And I do.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, what I find interesting is people will find the money, what they find valuable and are willing to pay for it.
That's right.
And I remember when I sold Mary Kay Cosmetics, I went to a skincare class, and this girl wanted the whole set. She had no telephone, and she didn't have any money. I don't have a checking account. Thinking, no phone, no. So she said, but if you come back tomorrow, I'll give you the cash. So it was like an hour drive. I said, well, I went back and I walked in and she had, here's the cash. Do you have any more things I could buy? I mean, I walked out of there with like a lot of money. So I asked her, I said, well, how come you don't have a telephone? She said to me, I don't want one.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I never thought it. She spent her money exactly as she wanted. And who am
Wanted.
I to judge that
That's
she
right.
should buy a telephone or she should have a checkbook?
That's
So
right.
I thought, we need to
Yeah.
be like more like that and,
Yeah.
care about our clients. What is it you want? I can help deliver more than just a reconciliation of your bank account.
That's right.
It's what it means. And I think
And
we,
if that's what they want, I can give that sort of service, but that's not what I want to do on my day to day. I don't want to
right,
be on the bookkeeping grind, if you will. I don't
right.
want to be paying your bills and because if I do daily tasks that are a necessity for me to do, I can't go on a 30-day vacation.
Which is what you do. So you've designed your business because this is the best thing about Jacqueline. Not all, how she runs her business, I think, is phenomenal, and we should use
Yeah.
you as an example. But you do it because you like to do something many of us don't do because we are tied to the desk. So what do you
Right.
do that is amazing? Tell us.
What do I do that's amazing?
Well, you
I,
just
t-
you
I tell
start with the
people
letter
about
T.
themselves.
You start with the letter T. You do it do it at a
Every
time.
30 days at a time.
I travel. I,
She
I
traveled.
I travel, but I also the other T that I do with my that I do is I make sure that I manage my time the way that I want, which
Yeah,
is really important. You know, it's
because
because we all have the same amount of
now
time.
think about. I tell that too. 168
Yeah,
hours a week from the richest man in the world to me. It's how
same
you
amount of
spend
time.
it. Same amount. And once
So
it's gone, it's gone. You can't get it back.
no, no,
So
but I'm not selling my time. Not selling it
exactly
at
right.
all. Refuse.
Yeah, I don't. I sell my brain.
That's right.
I want to become efficient, accurate, effective. So when somebody's, well, how long is it going to take you? I said, why does that matter?
Yeah.
Which is how
The,
price
the,
makes time.
it's naughty. The only reason why I put a due date in my engagement letter is because it gives them some sense of calm to
Yeah.
see that. But
Yes.
usually I finish way before my due
Oh
date.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not gonna tell them that I go in a week before the due date. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Or if I know that I'm not gonna have the time to do the review and do the next steps with them, I'll earliest I'll do is like 2 weeks. But yeah, the due date is a placebo for them in my engagement letter. It's
Right.
not for me because I'm not selling my time.
Right. Exactly. I heard Zappies, I think, did that when they delivered shoes. They say, okay, your shoes are going to be delivered in a week. And they
Hmm.
always deliver them in 3 days. And everyone, oh, wow, this place delivers fast. And
Yeah.
if they said we deliver it in 3 days and it took 4 days,
Hmm.
slow delivery. Or if they said 7 days and it took 7 days, they go, no big deal. But they always gave an outside date and delivered it faster.
Right.
And they still could use the outside date if it needed to be. But
Yeah.
that's a tip. I mean, for us as professionals, you
But it's
know,
about the outcome and the
outcome,
value that they're going to get.
outcome,
What is the outcome? What's their expectation, right? If you hire me, what's your expectation?
right,
What do you expect to happen?
right,
And it has to be within my scope.
hmm
And then I want to, two step it, step it up two more levels so that I exceed their expectation.
right, right. Yeah, just
So it looks like I'm amazing, but I'm just like it's not that hard to say, oh, you want to buy one scoop, Deb, of ice cream, no problem, I'm going to give you a scoop and a half. And if my boss isn't looking because I don't own the business, I'm going to give you two scoops and one scoop, and you're going to be like, thanks. I'm like, no
yes,
problem.
and they keep coming back. I mean, I wish more business owners would do that. This kind of on the same principles. When accountants charge a credit card fee to pay the bill,
Hmm.
that's like giving half a ice cream to me. You
Yeah.
just are losing business by charging a convenience fee. Don't do it. you know.
See, I disagree with you on that one.
Okay, we'll have a fight.
Yeah, I disagree with you on that
Because I
one.
think, deliver more. Raise your price by 5%.
You can raise your price, but I moved off of QuickBook payments, which I loved. I didn't have any problems like most people did with QuickBook payments, but I just moved over to Say Anchor, which I love more. And I moved over to Say Anchor because of Janice Barsulo.
Oh,
Um,
another.
Uh-huh.
y- yeah, I mentioned her before. She introduced me to you guys, and so I moved over to Say Anchor, and they're still paying that fee, but
But they can choose
it's
to pay it. You don't just automatically charge it.
right.
Right.
But I still added it in the background anyways,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
every dollar matters at
Right.
the end of the day. And I tell that to my clients. I had an interior decorator whose books I had to do over for 2024. And when I showed him his merchant fee number, because we're going through all of the reports, I said, this is somebody's salary. And he was like, whoa. He's like, it is. And I said, you need to increase your prices and build this on top of what your new
Right.
prices are going to be.
Mhm.
And he's like, why would I do that? I said, because if you increase your prices, this money is still coming out your pocket. So you
Right.
have to add it into the equation. And
Right.
we were talking about him paying about $79,000 a year in merchant
Like
fees.
if your insurance rate goes up, your electricity bill goes up, you have to raise your prices to offset the
But a
same.
lot of people don't.
They
Yeah.
don't.
They
Oh,
they 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 don't. And I have that conversation every November with all of my clients. I'm like, okay, what's your new price list look like? And I tell them, when we're going over the year end, which is November for me because I'm gone the whole month of December, sometimes from Thanksgiving until the new year. I'm just like, okay, and what's your new price list look like? And explain to me why you went up 3% instead of 10%.
right.
And usually their excuse, and to me it's an excuse, when you're grading yourself against somebody else and say, well, Deb didn't do it, industry standards are, and and I'm just
I
like,
hate those
you
ones. Yeah.
you're your industry. You are your industry. If somebody wants to go to one of your peers, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Then they'll deal with those industry standards, but you're your industry standards. And I don't understand that. I'm just like, and rules are made to be broken, and until
Exactly.
someone breaks it, you're going to be stuck in the groove of your industry standards, which is just, by the way, keeping you just over broke.
Just over broke. I'm gonna write that
Yeah.
down. I think, Don, we should write a LinkedIn post called "Just Over Broke."
Just over broke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
so
the
it's
whole thing.
I challenged a plumber, who he could barely pay me for my first consultation. He called me, he was from another state, and he's like, I'm so damn good at what I do, but I can't get people to pay me. And I said, why? And he's just like, I don't know. And I was told that I should talk to you about it. And I was just like, okay. I said, well, I said, I'm happy to talk to you. I have the time. I said, so let me send you a payment link right now. And he's like, I don't have any money. He's like, I'm literally just over fucking broke. And he's like, I'm sick and tired of it. I said, how much money do you have? And he's like, honestly? I said, yeah, honestly. I said, clock is ticking. And he said, I have $79. I said, okay, send it to me. And he's like,
Wow.
but that's all I have. I said, that's okay. I said, the universe knows that you have more. Send me the $79 if you want to leave the empty well that you're in. Send it to me. And
Mhm.
he's like, right now, think you sound heartless. And I said, okay. I said, I hear you, but you want something that I have, and I want to give it to you. And I'm telling you, I can give it to you, and you won't even trust me enough to give me the $79. So you're going to stay exactly where you are. So you're happy where you are. So call me when you're truly miserable.
Love
And
this
he
stuff.
was
This is
like,
like so cool.
he was
So
like, wait,
good.
wait, wait, wait. he's like, okay, I'm miserable right now. I said, you're not miserable enough to send me your freaking $79. I said, I actually cost more than that. And I'm taking what you have to give you your pot of gold and you don't want it. So I said, call me back when you're really, truly miserable. And he's like, all right, I'll send it. I said, okay. And I said, and I guarantee you within 24 hours, you're going to make $600.
And what
He's
happened?
like, he did. He made $600 because I said, but you have to follow my instructions. Now he has a fleet of trucks. He has 14 fleet of trucks. He has 24 employees, and he's nowhere close to being broke.
That's a fabulous story.
Yeah. Because I said, people don't want you to meet them at where they're at. You have to understand if you're really good at what you do, because he said he was an amazing plumber. I said, okay. I said, so when the next person calls, you tell them how much the job is going to be. You're going to come straight out because you don't have anything to fucking do. You said you had a tank of gas left in the car. He's like, yes, I do. I said, and you go over there and you do the best job possible and ask them for a review. And I said, and you get paid before you leave. And he's like, oh my God, I just did it. But he had to present himself correctly. His invoice looked like it came from what my mother would call John's shop. John's shop has nothing good in it, right? Everything in John's shop is broken, right?
Right.
So I gave him a logo, put color on his on his website. Did it actually through at the time a very rudimentary GBT, but it was much better than what he had going on, right? And did the logo, slap that up there, put it on his Google business page, and I said, the next call you get, it's one number that's going to come out of your mouth, and what is it? And he's like, it's $600. I said, awesome. Because it's emergency service, right? He's like, yes, that's right. And he started doing that, and I said, now go and go stick your business card, your new business card when you get it. Go stick it on everybody's windshield in the nice neighborhoods in your community, the nicest neighborhoods, and you'll start to get calls from
Right.
those communities. And he did, and he called me every week. He's like, I'm making money. I can go do QuickBooks now. I said, okay, great. Because I allowed him to do his invoices. I didn't allow. I told him how he could do his invoices through the free version of the QuickBooks invoicing, which a lot of people don't even know exists.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I tell you what, Donna, we're at time, but Donna, I would like to have
Yes.
Jacqueline back, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna rewatch this, and I gotta make some changes.
Yes, me too. Mine's been floating.
Yes.
Absolutely fabulous. I can't thank you enough for, giving us half an hour. Now, where's your next trip?
I'm going to Bhutan in Nepal. And each country is going to be 30 days. So I'm going to be gone for 60 total
60 days.
because they're next to each other and I'm not doing the flight two
So when do
times.
you leave for that?
Excuse me?
When do you leave for those trips?
Oh, that one is going to be at the end of tax season. I leave on April 20th and I don't come back until June 20th.
Are you going to be at scaling then? We won't be at scaling.
No, I will not.
Oh,
Oh.
well, we'll have a cardboard cutout of you.
And I already booked the trip since early this year. So, yeah.
Oh well, we'll miss you at scaling, but we'll be
We'll
thinking of
definitely miss you. Yep.
we'll have to have you back because this was absolutely one of the best. Such great information. I mean, just really fabulous.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I
Oh,
really appreciate it.
and we have all Jacqueline's contact information, so she can advise us too, right, Donna?
Oh yeah, we got everything. I want
E-
those
e-
those
Oh,
trip
yeah.
DVDs,
Everything
but
about the
yeah.
trips.
We want the travel agents too.
Absolutely. Everything about the trips, you have it.
Together. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh,
That'll be awesome.
that would be a hoot. I'd love it.
Yeah. All right, we'll have to plan that because
Oh,
Donna.
yeah.
All right.
That would be so fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll let you go. So
Okay.
until next time, over and out.
Thank you so much.
All
We
right. Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
We really appreciate it. Thank you, ladies.